Welcome to our next module on food additives. Oh, maybe this bread contains almond chalk, or sawdust chopped up very fine, or gypsum in powder about which they talk, terra alba just out of the mine. And our faith in the butter is apt to be weak, for we haven't a good place to pin it. A natto so yellow and beef fat so sleek, oh, I wish I could know what's in it. These lines are written by Harvey Washington Willey, known as the father of the Pure Food and Drugs Act, who was a crusader for food safety. In the mid to late 19th century, with increasing food production, increased processed foods in the US, and no government regulation, food adulteration was rampant. Willie started working as chief chemist of the Bureau of Chemistry in the United States Department of Agriculture, where he started government testing of food, beverages, and ingredients in 1902. These tests, which were called the hygienic table trials by him, or as the poison squad by the media, used volunteers who were fed food laced with commonly used additives such as borax and formaldehyde, and the effects on their bodies were studied. What we're going to learn in this module is preservatives and antioxidants, sugar substitutes, trans fats, and some of the regulations governing food additives. So we start with preservatives. The term preservatives refers to compounds that help to slow or prevent bacterial growth in products such as foods, medicines, and personal care products. These compounds can be natural or synthetic. Preservatives protect products from spoilage or contamination. Canning, freezing, drying, dehydration are also methods used for the preservation of food. Preservation using honey or sugar and salt were well known to the earliest cultures. But preserving food by heat treatment and sealing them in airtight containers began in the 18th century. Nicholas Appert in 1795 introduced the method of heat treatment of food in glass jars to prevent them from getting spoiled in response to Napoleon Bonaparte's offer of a reward for a reliable food preservation method for his army. This was then followed by another person, an Englishman, Peter Durrant's method for food in unbreakable tin cans. Pasteurization, sterilization, drying, freezing, canning are all methods of physical preservation. Chemical preservation involves the use of chemicals to inhibit food spoilage. So over here we look at the chemicals used as food preservatives. Food preservatives are classified as class 1 preservatives or natural preservatives such as salt, sugar, vinegar, syrup, spices, honey, etc. Class 2 preservatives are the chemical preservatives such as benzoates, sorbates, nitrites, nitrates, sulfides, etc. Both these class 1 and class 2 preservatives are again classified into three main groups: antioxidants, antimicrobials, and anti-enzymatics. Antioxidants are compounds that delay or prevent the deterioration of food that happens through oxidative mechanisms. Antimicrobial agents inhibit the growth of spoilage and pathogenic microorganisms in food. Anti-enzymatic agents block the enzymatic processes such as ripening, which happens in foodstuff even after harvest. Taking a look at the antimicrobials first. Antimicrobials are used to inhibit the growth of spoilage and pathogenic microorganisms. Sodium chloride or common salt is one of the oldest known antimicrobial agents, which inhibits the microbial growth by osmosis and dehydration. Organic acids such as acetic acid, benzoic acid, and sorbic acid are also antimicrobials which are used in products having a low pH. Nitrates and nitrites are used to inhibit the bacterium Clostridium botulinum in cured meat products. Sulfur dioxide and sulfites are used to control the growth of spoilage microorganisms in dried fruits, fruit juices, and wines. Niacin and natamycin are produced by microorganisms. Niacin inhibits the growth of some bacteria, whereas natamycin is active against molds and yeasts. Taking a look at some of these antimicrobials, benzoic acid and its salts carry the E numbers from E210 to E213. Benzoic acid is partially water soluble, and so it cannot be used directly because of its poor water solubility. Therefore, very often it is used in the form of its sodium salt. Benzoic acid or its salts are antimicrobial compounds, benzoates, which are found naturally in strawberries, cayenne pepper, mustard seeds, cloves, thyme, nutmeg, and cinnamon. The US FDA has accorded a GRAS status to benzoic acid and its salts. Benzoic acid has a very wide antimicrobial spectrum, and it is a mold and yeast inhibitor. Its maximum antimicrobial activity lies between pH 2.5 and 4. As you can see, it happens to fall in the acidic range, and so these preservatives can be used for high acid foods such as carbonated beverages, jams, jellies, preserves, pickles, soy sauce, etc. Benzoates, some people suffer from allergies from benzoates, and therefore very often benzoates are now replaced by sorbic acid and its salts, the sorbates. Sorbic acid, E number 200, also known as 2,4-hexadienoic acid. Sorbic acid and sodium and potassium salts are used to inhibit the growth of molds and yeasts. It is used in foods which have a pH of 6.5 or less. The activity of sorbic acid increases as its pH decreases. Sorbates do not affect flavor if they are present in low quantities because sorbic acid and its salts are tasteless and odorless if they are used at levels below 0.3%. Foods that contain sorbic acid are dairy foods, soft drinks, beer, baked goods, etc. Sorbic acid has low solubility in water at room temperature, but its salts such as sodium and potassium sorbate are more soluble in water. Sorbic acid is also on the list of generally regarded as safe or GRAS substances. Parabens are alkyl esters of para-hydroxybenzoic acid. The alkyl groups which are represented by R in the structure drawn over there could be methyl, ethyl, propyl, butyl, or heptyl. Their solubility in water depends upon the nature of their alkyl group. The longer the group, the lesser is its solubility in water. Parabens have high antimicrobial activity in both acid and alkaline range, which is different from the acids that we saw earlier. Parabens are known to be more active against molds and yeast than they are against bacteria. Parabens are also widely used in the cosmetic industry besides the food industry. Methyl and propyl paraben are generally regarded as safe for chemical preservation in foods. They are used in fruit cakes, pastries, fish products, etc. Some studies have shown that parabens could have a negative effect on the body. They are widely regarded as endocrine disruptors, chemicals that mimic hormones or have anti-hormone activity and interfere with the functioning of the endocrine system. Several of the longer chain parabens have been banned in many countries. Sulfur dioxide and sulfites are also used as food preservatives. The 7 food additives, sulfur dioxide and its 6 sulfites, sodium sulfite, sodium bisulfite, sodium metabisulfite, potassium metabisulfite, calcium sulfite, calcium bisulfite, and potassium bisulfite are together considered as preservatives coming under the class of sulfites. They carry the E numbers from E220 for sulfur dioxide and E221 to 228 for the other 6 sulfites. They are considered together because they behave similarly after ingestion. They are used in fruit and vegetable juices and in dried fruits and vegetables. Sulfur dioxide is also used to preserve the color and increase the shelf life of dried foods. Sulfur dioxide and sulfites work as both antimicrobial as well as antioxidants. There are two main methods of adding sulfur to foods. One of them is called sulfuring, the other is sulfiting. Sulfuring involves burning elemental sulfur in an enclosed chamber, so sulfur dioxide gas is given off, which is absorbed by the food. The sulfur chamber is usually an enclosure in which perforated trays containing fruits are stacked on top of each other. Sulfiting uses sulfite salts such as sodium or potassium bisulfite or potassium sulfite or metabisulfite. Sulfuring involves burning elemental sulfur in an enclosed chamber, so sulfur dioxide gas is given off, which is absorbed by the food. The sulfur chamber is an enclosure in which perforated trays containing fruits are stacked on top of each other. Sulfiting uses sulfite salts such as sodium or potassium sulfite or metabisulfite. The fruit or vegetables are here either soaked in a sulfite solution or blanched in water containing the sulfites. Sulfuring is more common for fruits and sulfiting more common for vegetables. Instead of sulfur dioxide, sulfites can be used directly because in water they all yield sulfur dioxide. According to the FDA, 1 in 100 people are sensitive to sulfites. Sulfites may trigger anaphylaxis in a small number of people who are sensitive to them. Anaphylaxis is a severe and potentially fatal systemic reaction characterized by itching, hives, fainting, and respiratory symptoms. Asthmatics and people with allergies to aspirin are usually at an elevated risk for this type of reaction to sulfites. A severe anaphylactic shock could be fatal. The use of sulfites on fresh fruits and vegetables is banned in the United States. Scientific data on sulfites and what happens to them once they're inside the body is limited. When consumed in food, they may trigger intolerant reactions, and some consumers who are sensitive to sulfites in foods may suffer. The acceptable daily intake for sulfites is 0.7 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, covering all the 7 substances combined. But dietary exposure to these 7 substances for consumers would exceed these limits. The European Food Safety Authority claims that sufficient data is not yet available and more data is needed to fully confirm its safety, and therefore its safety will be reviewed once more data becomes available. In the meanwhile, it is recommended in Europe that labeling should describe the actual level of sulfites or sulfur dioxide in individual products so that sensitive and intolerant consumers would be able to regulate their intake. Nitrates and nitrites are chemicals that can be found naturally in our food and water. In nature, nitrates are converted into nitrites and vice versa. These additives function as preservatives in foods. Used in processed meats and cheese, they are both used extensively to enhance the color and extend the shelf life of processed meats. Nitrite is considered the active curing ingredient responsible for the preservation of the food in combination with other ingredients like salt. Nitrate, when added to food, converts to nitrite before exerting its preservative function. Nitrates and nitrites carry the E numbers from E249 to 252. Nitrites are used because they prevent the growth of a harmful bacterium called Clostridium botulinum, and they may also have preventive action against some other harmful bacteria. Botulism is a potentially deadly disease characterized by respiratory and musculoskeletal paralysis caused by the bacterium Clostridium botulinum. In addition, Nitrite helps to develop cured meat flavor and color and retards the development of rancidity. Nitrite is responsible for the vibrant red-pink color of cured meats. Nitrates and nitrites are fairly inert by themselves, but they are being gradually phased out of food processing because they could be toxic in large amounts. A lethal dose of nitrites for a human being is 22 milligrams per kg of body weight. Nitrite and nitrates have been linked with toxic outcomes including cancers, thyroid problems, and reproductive issues. On October 26, 2015, the World Health Organization and the International Agency for Research on Cancer issued a press release stating that red meat is probably carcinogenic to humans and it is classified as a Group 2A carcinogen. Processed red meat is a carcinogen and classified as a Group 1 carcinogen. Nitrosamines are formed when nitrites come in contact with the acidic nature of the stomach. Nitrosamines are organic compounds produced by the interaction of nitrites in food with the breakdown products of amino acids. Nitrosamines are also found in tobacco smoke. Some of these nitrosamines could be powerful carcinogens. Sodium ascorbate, which is a salt of ascorbic acid, or more commonly known as vitamin C, is often added to foods which contain nitrites to inhibit or prevent the formation of nitrosamines. We then move on to the next class of preservatives, and that is antioxidants. Oxidation reactions happen when chemicals in the food are exposed to oxygen in the air. Oxidation of food is a destructive process, causing loss of nutritional value and change in chemical composition. The oxidation of fats and oil leads to rancidity, and in fruits such as apples, it can result in the formation of compounds that discolor the fruit. In the presence of oxygen, amino acids convert into organic acid and ammonia. This is the elementary spoilage reaction that happens in refrigerated fresh meat and fish. The term rancidification is used to denote lipids oxidation through which unsaturated fats undergo reaction with oxygen. Carbonyl compounds are the products of this oxidation reaction, and they are responsible for the rancid tastes of food. Oxidation reactions lead to color alteration, off flavor, and formation of toxic substances. Another constant threat comes from chemicals called free radicals. In very high levels, they are capable of damaging cells and genetic material. The body generates free radicals as the inevitable byproducts of turning food into energy. Free radicals are also formed through exposure to cigarette smoke, air pollution, and sunlight. Under natural conditions, animals and plant tissues contain their own antioxidants. Antioxidants are added to food to slow the rate of oxidation, and if used properly, they can help to extend the shelf life of the food in which they have been used. Vitamin E or tocopherol is a fat-soluble vitamin that occurs as a natural antioxidant in foods such as whole grains, nuts, wheat germ, and green leafy vegetables. It is added to fresh-cut fruits and vegetables to slow oxidation. It is also used in the fortification of breakfast cereals. BHA, butylated hydroxyanisole, and BHT, butylated hydroxytoluene, are antioxidants that work by preventing the oxidation of fats present in food. When the fats get oxidized, the food turns rancid. Some minerals in foods, particularly iron and copper, can also speed up the process of food spoilage through oxidation. Preservatives added to food to prevent oxidation related to these minerals are called chelating agents. A chelating agent is a type of a food preservative that works by binding metal ions in certain foods to prevent the metals from oxidizing and therefore speeding up spoilage. The name comes from the Greek word for a crab's claw because chelating agents have groups of atoms that encircle the metal ion like the claws of a crab. Chelating agents are also known as sequestrants. Taking a look at an important class of antioxidants, BHA E320 and BHT E321. Butylated hydroxyanisole and butylated hydroxytoluene are preservatives found in cereals, chewing gum, potato chips, and vegetable oils. Butylated hydroxyanisole is a synthetic antioxidant that is used to prevent fats in foods from growing rancid. BHT also stabilizes fats and is used to retain food smell, color, and flavor. Fats can react with oxygen to form free radicals, but these react with BHT to form a stable BHT radical, which does not further react with fat molecules, and thus it stops the chain reaction from happening further. BHT and BHA are very similar in their structure and also in their uses as an antioxidant. BHT is often added directly to fats, oils, shortening, etc. It was first approved by the US FDA as a food preservative in 1954. BHT has since been banned in Europe, Japan, and Australia. BHA and BHT have been known to impair blood clotting when consumed in high quantities and promote tumor growth. The US Food and Drug Administration categorizes BHA and BHT as GRAS, generally regarded as safe, which means they are widely considered safe for their intended use in specified amounts and did not have to undergo a pre-market review. They are used to preserve fats and oils in cosmetics also, such as lipsticks and moisturizers. The last group of preservatives, the anti-enzymatic agents. Anti-enzymatic preservatives control the enzymatic processes and prevent the harmful effects of chemical enzymes. The enzyme phenolase, for example, can lead to the brown color on the exposed surface of cut fruits, and citric acid and erythrobic acid are anti-enzymatic preservatives that can stop the action of the enzyme phenolase, thereby preventing the browning of fruits. These are some of the important preservatives. We can move on to the next class of compounds that we shall discuss, and they are sugar substitutes. Our desire for sweet taste is inborn. The use of honey dates back to 2000 BC, but it has always been sugar which has been the sweetener of choice for centuries. Sugar has been one of the most important flavoring substances used by man. It gives us a sensation of sweetness and provides a source of energy. But excessive sugar intake is linked with a number of health problems. The prominent among them are tooth decay, obesity, and diabetes. Sugar substitutes are substances of low energy value that provide sweet taste but do not have the calories of carbohydrates or their glycemic effects. Sugar substitutes can allow people with diabetes to enjoy sweet foods and drinks that do not affect their blood sugar levels. However, sugar also has other functions in food. It provides texture in baked goods. It is a humectant, which means it stops the cakes from drying out and adds bulk. It lowers freezing point in ice creams. It acts as a preservative in jams, and it strengthens the mouthfeel in soft drinks. Sugar substitutes cannot provide all of these properties. For example, they cannot replace sugar in cakes because sugar also adds bulk and stiffness to cakes. The main use of intense sweeteners is in production of low-calorie or low-energy foods, especially suitable to people watching their weight or suffering from diabetes. Bulk sweeteners such as xylitol and mannitol are less sweet, and so they can be used to regulate the texture of food. Sugar substitutes. We have intense sweeteners that are many times sweeter than sugar and therefore typically used at very low levels to replace the sweetness which is normally provided by sugar. The sensation of sweetness that is given by these compounds is quite different from that of sucrose, so they are often used in complex mixtures that can help to achieve the most natural sweet sensation. By offering the taste of sweetness without any calories, artificial sweeteners seems to be the answer for effective weight loss. The artificial sweeteners that are used in India are aspartame, ace-sulfame potassium, neotame, saccharin, and sucralose. Intense sweeteners are many times sweeter than sugar. The sweetness value that is given in the table over here indicates how many times sweeter than sucrose these particular compounds are. Aspartame, which is 200 times sweeter than sucrose, is a high intensity, artificial non-nutritive sweetener marketed under different brand names like Equal, NutraSweet, etc. Aspartame is used in a variety of products like soft drinks, beverages, tabletop sweeteners, cereals, sugar-free chewing gums, etc. Aspartame loses its sweetness when it is heated, and so it is not used in baked goods. Neotame, the sweetest of them all, is 7,000 to 13,000 times sweeter than sucrose. It is a derivative of aspartame. The FSSAI recommends the use of neotame in soft drinks only. Ace-sulfame potassium, 200 times sweeter than sucrose, is a calorie-free sugar substitute, also known as ace-sulfame potassium. It is almost always used in conjunction with another sweetener such as aspartame or sucralose. Saccharin, 300 times sweeter than sugar, is the oldest artificial sweetener discovered in 1878. It is used in a variety of beverages, foods, cosmetics, and pharmaceuticals. Its primary function is to provide sweetness without adding calories, though it has a slightly bitter aftertaste. Sucralose is an artificial sweetener, 600 times sweeter than sugar. It can be used in baking or in products that require a longer shelf life. Cyclamates are another group of intense sweeteners. They are still approved for use in several countries around the world, but they have risks associated with them. They are not approved for use in India. Because these sweeteners provide sweetness without contributing to calories, intense sweeteners are popular among people looking for weight loss or diabetics. But sucrose not only provides sweetness to a product, as mentioned before, it contributes to the texture in soft drinks and iced teas. Intense sweetener containing colas or Diet Coke and other diet drinks have a different mouthfeel, and to cover that up, they need bulking agents like maltodextrin. There has also been a constant controversy over health risks posed by artificial sweeteners. Several studies have shown that rather than promoting weight loss, the use of diet drinks caused increased weight gain and obesity. Those who consumed diet soda were more likely to gain weight than those who consumed naturally sweetened soda. These alternative sweeteners have been shown to rapidly increase the blood sugar level and cause adverse effects in diabetes. Aspartame, an an intense sweetener that we spoke about, 200 times sweeter than sugar, is believed to cause a wide range of side effects from stomach problems to headaches, nausea, and skin rashes. On the basis of some other studies, it has been found to be safe for the majority of the population except for phenylketonuria. Phenylketonuria, or people suffering from phenylketonuria, have an inherited disorder where the body is unable to metabolize the amino acid phenylalanine. When digested, aspartame breaks down into three components: aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methanol, which is why it is risky for phenylketonuria. Products containing aspartame are therefore required by the FSSAI to carry a warning that says "not recommended for children and in phenylketonuria." We have another group of alternative sweeteners called the sugar alcohols. Sugar alcohols are neither sugars nor alcohols. They are carbohydrates with a chemical structure that resembles sugar and has OH, the functional group called alcohol, hence the name. Sugar alcohols, also called polyols, are a category of carbohydrates found naturally or processed from other sugars. They are widely used as sweeteners. They are low-calorie sweeteners. Many of them are less sweet than sugar and therefore need to be used in larger quantities than intense sweeteners. Depending on the individual sweetener, they may be anywhere between 35% to 100% as sweet as sugar, and so they have similar bulk to sugar. They are calorific but do not get completely absorbed, and due to inadequate absorption, they have a laxative effect. They help to add bulk and texture, and they also provide a cooling effect or taste. There are 7 sugar alcohols approved internationally for use in food: erythritol, isomalt, lactitol, maltitol, mannitol, sorbitol, and xylitol. Sugar alcohols are not acted upon by bacteria in the mouth, and therefore they do not cause tooth decay. Xylitol has been found, in fact, to inhibit oral bacteria and is often therefore used in sugarless mints and chewing gums. The FDA authorizes the use of a health claim in food labels that sugar alcohols do not promote tooth decay. We also then have natural sweeteners. And natural sweeteners are better than refined sugar because they contain the vitamins, minerals, enzymes, and healing properties such as in honey. But they contribute to calories just like processed sugar and should be still consumed in moderation. Agave nectar, brown rice syrup, date sugar, honey, maple syrup, molasses, sorghum syrup are all examples of natural sweeteners. High fructose corn syrup, derived from cornstarch, is also marketed as a natural sweetener because it comes from corn syrup. The main advantage of using high fructose corn syrup over sugar is that it readily dissolves in water, is easily flavored, and imparts a sweet flavor to beverages and fruits. Concerns have frequently been expressed about high fructose corn syrup leading to increased liver fat, unhealthy weight, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. Novel sweeteners comprise a loosely defined group of compounds not previously known that provide sweetness and calories and are derived from natural sources. Trehalose, tagatose, and stevia are some examples of novel sweeteners. Trehalose, found in living organisms such as plants, fungi, and bacteria, is obtained from honey and mushrooms. It is half as sweet as sucrose, but still provides 4 kilocalories per gram, which is the same as sugar. Tagatose is found in certain types of fruits. It is also obtained from lactose, the sugar that is found in milk. It provides only 1.5 kilocalories per gram, even though it's almost as sweet as sucrose. And sucrose provides around 4 kilocalories per gram. Then we have stevia sweeteners. Stevia sweeteners are derived from the leaves of the Stevia rebaudiana plant, a shrub native to South America. The stevia plant has been used for food and medicinal purposes for hundreds of years. Purified extracts of stevia leaves are sweet and are considered to be generally recognized as safe. Stevia is about 200 to 300 times sweeter than table sugar, so they help to contribute sweetness to foods and beverages without adding calories. Talking of calories, a calorie is a unit of energy. By definition, it is the amount of heat which is needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Calories in food provide energy in the form of heat so that our bodies can function. Food labels spell calorie with a capital C. So when you read a food label, you must keep in mind that this calorie, spelt with a capital C, is equivalent to a kilocalorie or 1000 calories. Another important ingredient to watch out for is trans fat. Artificial trans fats are created in an industrial process that adds hydrogen to liquid vegetables to make them solid. Partially hydrogenated oils don't turn rancid fast, so trans fat is used to enhance and extend the shelf life of food products and is among the most dangerous substances that you can consume. Found in deep-fried fast foods and processed foods made with margarine or partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. Trans fat is the worst kind of fat. Numerous studies have shown that trans fat increases LDL, low density lipoic acid cholesterol levels, and decreases HDL, that is the good cholesterol. It also promotes inflammation, leads to heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and promotes obesity and resistance to insulin. Several food companies have started removing trans fats from their products, but you must still check the ingredient labels to see if trans fats or partially hydrogenated oils figure on the list. Trans fat is banned in several countries. The Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, the FSSAI, has launched a mass media campaign to create awareness about trans fats and eliminate them in India by 2022. Olestra or olein is a fat substitute that adds no calories to products. It is used in the preparation of low-calorie versions of high-fat foods such as potato chips, thereby lowering or eliminating their fat content. It not only removes unwanted fats from foods, but also changes the body's ability to absorb essential vitamins. Its side effects include intestinal cramping and diarrhea. Olestra is banned in the UK and Canada. In the US, specified amounts of vitamins A, D, and E and K must be added to foods containing olestra to compensate for its interference with the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. Olestra is another very harmful food additive that you might want to look for when you're reading food labels. In our fast-paced lives, food additives are indispensable. Food quality and shelf life cannot be maintained without the use of food additives. They provide us with greater safety and greater choice of food products, although some of them could be linked to adverse health effects. Scaremongering and hype by the media and our own ignorance of facts causes a general fear of chemicals in food in our minds. This is unhealthy and prevents us from making the right choices. As Paracelsus pointed out, it is the dose that makes the poison. All things are poison, and nothing is without poison. It is only the dose that makes a difference. Thanks a lot.